Welcome to JTREG Tutorial Part I Getting Started with JTREG. My name is Balachandra Vaidya. I'm working in Java Platforms Group as a principal member of technical staff at Oracle. Here is a disclaimer. In this tutorial, I'm going to give you introduction about using JTREG, nuts and bolts of a JTREG test case, test execution example using JTREG, an example of JTREG test case, a log file example followed by a demo, and there is a reference pages that contains links to learn more about JTREG. Let me start with introduction. The JTREG tool is a test harness used for running unit and regression tests for JDK. There are more than 10,000 test cases that have been written for JDK since 1997 that use JTREG. The JTREG tool can be used for developing and running tests for Java APIs, compilers, VM, and GUI components. The JTREG tool uses Java Test Harness, which is a set of tools designed to execute test programs. You can learn more about Java Test Harness by visiting jtharness.java.net website. Let me move over to nuts and bolts of a JTREG test case. A JTREG test case is a simple Java program with the usual static main method, also called main test. Test case can be an applet, also called an applet test, or it can be a shell script, also called shell test. A simple rule for JTREG test case is test case should define its own pass-fail criteria. If the test fails, test case should throw an exception. If test succeeds, test case should return normally. However, catching general exceptions such as throwable exception or error is not recommended. A JTREG test case is distinguished from product source by @test tag. A test case may contain additional information and action tags. Tags must be enclosed in a comment at the head of the file. The information about tags is available at doc/jtreg directory in JTREG bundle. You can get the same information by typing jtreg-online help. You can also get tag specification from OpenJDK.java.net website. In the next slide, I'm going to explain most commonly used JTREG tags. @test tag defines a source file that defines a test. This is a mandatory tag. This must be the first tag in a comment block. @run tag tells the harness how to perform the test. @summary tag is used to provide a brief description of the test case. @library tag is used to reference library source files. @build tag is used to compile dependent classes or libraries before running the tests. @compile tag is used to compile a class. It's useful for writing compiler tests. @run tag is optional for automated tests. This tag is used to run tests with non-default options. Manual tests use /manual option with @run tag. For example, @run applet/manual, @run main/manual, @run shell/manual. Negative test is marked with /fail option. For example, @run main/fail, @compile/fail. Applet test requires a HTML file which should contain an applet tag with necessary parameter. Note that extension of the HTML file should be .html. Shell test should have an extension .sh and should use Bourne shell syntax. Test fails if test takes longer than 120 seconds. But this default behavior of a JTREG can be controlled by using /timeout option. Example, at run main /timeout equal to 100. Let me now move over to test execution using JTREG. JTREG supports several command line options. Those command line options are grouped into general options, JDK options, test mode options, test selection options, verbose options. And tests passed onto JTREG can be a single test case or a directory that contains the test cases. More information about these options can be obtained by using JTREG-online help or from openjdk.java.net/jtreg/command-help.html. JTREG general options. To run tests concurrently, use -concurrency:(n) option. N can be auto or just a simple number. This option cannot be used with -same VM option. However, this option is not suitable for GUI tests. Example, test requires a mouse interaction. To specify alternate report and work directory, use -r or report_dir:\report directory. The default report directory is JTReport. To specify work directory, use -w or -workdir option. The default work directory is JTWork. To extend default timeout, use -timeout:(number) or -timeout:(number). This number is just a scaling factor. That is, if the number is 2, time is extended to 240 seconds because by default JTREG takes 120 seconds. To produce test log files in XML format, use -xml option. Log files with .jtr.xml extension are found in JTWork directory. JTREG JDK-related options. To pass JVM options for running tests, use -vm option or -vm options. This option can be used multiple times. Many common JVM options such as -server, -t64, client are supported directly. To run all tests with specified JDK, use -testjdk: location of the test JDK. Note that JDK version used for running JTREG harness is tested by default. To pass additional Java options for running test classes, use -java option or Java options. To pass additional compiler options, use -javac option or javac options. JTREG test mode options. With -other VM, every test runs in its own JVM. Advantage is there are maximum isolation between tests. However, there is maximum overhead with this option. With -same VM option, all test runs in the same JVM as the Java test harness. This option has minimum overhead, minimum isolation between tests. However, one bad test can cause problems for all subsequent tests. With -agent-vm option, test run using a pool of reusable JVMs. This means reuse VM if it can be reset to a clean state after a test. However, this cannot be enforced in a test. Test mode can also be specified in a test source file. Example, at run space main/agent-vm or at run main/other-vm/timeout equal to 300. JTREG test selection options. To exclude tests, use -exclude :list containing the problematic test cases. In JDK repository, problem list.txt contains all the known failing tests. To select specific tests, use -a or -automatic option to run only automated tests. Use -m option to run manual tests. Use -k: keyword expression to run tests marked with specific keyword. Use -bug: bug ID can be used to run only tests with bug ID options marked in a test source file. Note that all tests run by default. JTREG verbose options. These options control amount of output returned to the console while running tests. -verbose: summary writes one line output per test. -verbose: fail: error writes selected contents of .jtr log file for failed and failed with error tests. Log files. Test log file is written in a text format with .jtr extension. These log files are located in JTWork directory. JTWork directory also contains .class files. Log file contains the command line used to execute tests, diagnostic message included in exception. It also includes output of system.out and system.err from the test source. JT report directory contains report in HTML and text format. Let me now move over to JTREG test case example. At test tag indicates source is a test. At summary tag is used to provide a brief description of the test, and the text used with this tag appears in output JTR log file. At run main example1 means invoke main method of example1 main class. At run main is optional for default execution. Test case should throw an exception to indicate test failure. In this case, test should exit normally indicate test is pass. To run this example, use JTREG -verbose: summary and test JDK to test an example source file. An empty file test.root should exit at the root directory of the test. Command creates JTWork and JTReport directory if the directory is not already present. JTReport/HTML report.html contains the overall result summary. JTReport/text/summary.txt contains the result summary in text format. JTWork/example1.jtr contains the test log file. Let me now move over to show an example of JTREG log file. Log file has an extension .jtr and can be found in subdirectories of JTWork directory. Information in the log files are organized in different sections. test, for example, test description section. And note that title equal to example1 a simple test case. This is actually coming from at summary tag specified in the test case source itself. Environment section and test result section provides a test result summary. For example, execution status, host name on which test has been executed, OS version on which test has been executed, and JTREG version itself, and many other useful options. Test results broken down into different phases of test execution. For example, script messages, build, section compile, and section main. Just remind that log files are found in JTWork directory. Now let me move over to give you a short demo that covers the theory. Let me start demo by showing how to get online help with JTREG. That you can do by typing JTREG minus online help. Online help has tag language specifications, that's the tag supported with JTREG. There are FAQs and also there is a command line usage details. By default, JTREG tests Java version used to run the JTREG. In this case, Java minus version JDK 1.8.0 early access version is used to run the JTREG, and the same version is getting tested. So the directory has just one example. This one I have covered in the previous slides. Let us look at what's in this example 1.java. This has test tag to indicate source is a test. It has a summary tag which gives the brief description of the test case, and then at run main tag. Let me close this example, and to run this test case simply have to type JTREG minus verbose colon summary and source file example1.java. If you want to test different version of JDK, you can type minus test JDK option. In this case, this test is not execute because JTREG could not find the file test.root. So at the minimum, there should be an empty test.root file. Let me create one. Touch test.root. OpenJDK repository comes with pre-created test.root file that has some useful instruction for JTREG to run the tests. Now the directory has test.root file and a test case. Let me run the test case again. JTREG minus verbose summary example1.java. It created a JT report directory, JT work directory, because those directories were not exist before, and it gave the brief synopsis saying that test result is passed 1, indicates that that's the one test case passed, and the report is returned to JT report directory. Now let me look at what is in this report directory. Let me start a browser. Okay, here is a report file. This report file shows tests executed, concurrency used, timeout factors, and keywords if anything specified. In our test execution we want to specify any keyword, and also finally there is links to JTR file. So example1.java, this contains, it's a JTR file. This is a log file. This contains different sections. Test description, this shows the tests, which tests has been executed, and there's a test result section. It has execution status, passed, host name on which test has been executed, and JTREG version is used, and many other useful options. And build, compile, main, different section, and finally test result is successful. Let me close this browser. Now with the JTREG options, no need to specify just summary option. It can be some other option like fail or error. If the test case has failure, it writes more information on the console. It can be verbose, pass. Okay, in this case there's lots of information written to console. I think this is pretty much information about JTREG. Let me go back to main presentation. Now let me give you some references to learn more about JTREG. There are a lot of information about JTREG available on OpenJDK.java.net website. Code Tool project has sources for JTREG, which one can clone, play around, and contribute to JTREG. All the emails sent to JTREG dev alias has been archived and is available on mail.openjdk.java.net website. And there is a OpenJDK wiki page that has some additional information about JTREG, including slides for this tutorial. If anyone have any questions about JTREG development related issues, send email to jtreg-dev@openjdk.java.net alias. In addition to that, JTREG bundles FAQs and tag specifications. More information about JTREG can be obtained using JTREG-online help or by simply typing JTREG -help. This is end of part 1 of JTREG tutorial, getting started with JTREG. Part 2 of the tutorial will cover more examples. Thank you.